Hi, I'm Gerry.
And I'm David. We own La Borgata Winery and Distillery. La Borgata Winery and Distillery is privately owned, and we're located on Pleasance Valley Road in Vacaville.
We are a private winery, and we grow all the grapes here on the estate. We have a Sangiovese wine, we also have a Chardonnay, a red wine blend, and we also have a rosé, and we're going to be releasing a Merlot. You can try our wines at our deli in downtown Vacaville. It's called La Borgata Italian Deli, and that's where we host our wine nights. That is either the first Friday or Saturday of the month. And what else?
You forgot to mention the distilled spirits.
That's right, I did.
So we have grappa, we have limoncello, nocino, and who knows what we're going to do next. You can't buy the distilled spirits at the deli, so hopefully you can come to the property sometime and do a tasting. But you can taste the wine at the deli anytime. So hopefully we'll see you there soon.
And don't forget, if you do want to order either our wine or our limoncello or nocino, you can go on our website, and that's laborgatawinery.com. Thank you, and I hope you guys have a good day.
laborgatawinery.com. Don't forget that. Bye.
Bye. Hi, I'm Gerry Uliano, and I am the owner of La Borgata Winery and Distillery, and we're located on Pleasance Valley Road up in Vacaville. I wanted to tell you a little bit about why I even started a winery and distillery. So my parents are from Italy, and so I grew up with my grandmother living at our house and my mom and dad. And the one thing that they instilled in us from a very early age was just the Italian culture and traditions. And so, my dad would be so good about like making sure every year we'd be like making homemade Italian sausage. He would even make prosciutto. We would definitely make wine every year. We would do limoncello, and there were just so many things just in general. Like learning how to speak Italian. I mean, that was actually my first language because they used to speak Italian at home all the time with me, and so maybe they were a little concerned that I wasn't going to be able to speak English when I was in kindergarten, but I did pretty well. And guess what? I don't even have an Italian accent. But going through school was a little bit different because I wasn't like every other person in the subdivision that we lived in. First of all, my parents couldn't even help me with schoolwork. They were just but guess what? They demanded that I got straight A's. So that was like a push for me all the way up until I like graduated college. And so at that point, when I did graduate college, my dad was working with my uncle, and they had a construction company, and my uncle passed away with brain cancer. He was very young. He was like 50, I think. It was very, very emotional for all of us. And so about a year later, my dad's like, well, if you don't like where you're working now, why don't you just get the contractor's license? I'm like, me get the contractor's license? I'm like, well, I did. I got the contractor's license. And so my dad and I worked together. We did so many remodels. We built at least 10 custom homes and spec homes. So we've done a lot of work together, and we've worked all those years together. And, we've had our ups and downs, how families are. You're going to get into arguments about this or that or the other. But all in all, it was pretty good. We really enjoyed it. And we were living in Arizona at the time. And so, being at, being at my dad's house, was always fun. Like, my mom and dad had fruit trees in the backyard. They had kumquats, they had tangerines, oranges, lemons, figs, like 3 different types of figs. They had apricot trees, they had almond trees, they had, this is like everywhere we went. Like when we lived in Buffalo, New York. I'm sure they had them in Italy, of course, all of those different things, but Buffalo, New York, they had peach trees, big garden in the backyard. My mom just like planted so many tomatoes, like the San Marzano tomatoes that they used to make sauce, because they would make sauce too. And so everywhere we went, there was always like fruit trees and a plethora of like, garden vegetables and fruit and nuts and things like that that they loved. And guess what? I love them too. I think probably like the biggest influence of everything that I had was just sticking with those traditional things. And that's why, when my dad made wine, I'm like, God, that was like, he'd be like tasting it, and then like he'd bring it to his like brothers and sisters, like, because we had a big family back in Buffalo, and they would like try, everybody like probably said like, try my wine, try my wine, try my wine. And, my dad did really good, because he used to this is what he did. Okay, so back in Buffalo, obviously, the wine grapes were like very limited. There was like Concord grapes, which I don't know if you've ever had Concord grape wine, but it's unique, but it doesn't have that like really good wine flavor like from Cabernet or Zinfandel or something like that. So my dad would go to this market called the Bailey's Market in Buffalo. And what these guys would do, the sellers of grapes, they would ship in the grapes from California. So my dad would get things like Zinfandel, Alicante, Moscato, these different types of like grapes that he'd like to use to blend to make wine. And so we'd make it in our basement in Buffalo. And, he'd have the barrel and everything there. And we'd, crank on the press, because we wanted every drop of juice that came out of it, because the grapes were expensive. So anyway, getting to like where we are today, I told my dad when we were living in Arizona, I said, I want to start a winery in Napa. And he goes, okay. And he was like, so like, he's like, okay. Cause and then I'm like, so I needed like approval to even leave, because I was really busy. I was like doing a lot of construction work there. I had a lot of clients. I had a big client base. And so I'm like, okay, can I do this? And I was telling him, I'm like, I love going to Napa. I traveled to San Francisco and Napa like 3 times in 1 year. My husband, David, came with me, because I had met David when I was 25, and then we actually like got together when I was 27. So that's been quite a few years now. Like, I'm gonna just say over 25, okay? And so David and I came and we visited so many times, and we had just, I think we were together for like maybe 3 years at the time, and So we started looking around Napa to see, like, I'm like, David, do you think we could actually live here? And he goes, well, you know, I grew up in Roseville, he goes, and my parents still have their house there. So, you know, we could easily, you know, move back and that, I mean, move to California. It'd be totally fun. So I said, all right. So I told my mom, you know, I love Napa so much. It reminds me of Italy, like from the region that they're from, in Molise, Italy. And so my mother's like, okay, you should go. She goes, you're still young, you can do it. I was like 30, you know, I'm like, okay. So at that time, my sister, Mariana, who owns La Borgata Italian Deli in downtown Vacaville. I hope you guys go there sometime because she does make some excellent sandwiches. I mean, they're very, very good. And the salads, actually, I'm craving a salad now. She does this sotomorino salad. It's kind of like our sub sandwich, but it's just all the meats on top of the salad, La Borgata style, with the olive oil and vinegar and the, oh my God, it's so good. So good. That's what I want for lunch. Okay, I'm gonna write that down. La Borgata. Okay. Anyway, so Mariana had just gotten married. She got pregnant right away, and it was so much fun. You know, like the wedding was really fun and all that. We had a live Italian band there, Tony Di Bruno, who was like sang all these classic Italian songs. It was like torn out of the page of like a Sopranos movie or something, you know. Getting back to Mariana, so she was pregnant and she was gonna have twin boys, and she did. Alessandro and Sebastiano were born back in 1998 when we moved to Napa. Hi, Tigra. Are you gonna say hi? Come on, let's say hi. No, she doesn't want to say hi. But anyway, so let's walk this way. We'll walk into the yard. So it's so nice and shady under here. I remember when we planted all these trees. And then Mariana was going to come over, you know, with the twins. And what we had done is we remodeled the cottage, which was behind our house. And so Mariana moved there with the twins and Tony and my grandmother. So my grandmother, Elvira, moved there too. And she loved it. She loved it because she had her garden when we lived in Arizona, and then when she moved here, we had our garden in Napa, which it was a lot cooler. I mean, the vegetables were bigger, you know, all of this stuff, and she just had a great time taking care of the twins, because that's her thing, taking care of babies. So she made sauce, she made pizza, she made homemade bread, she made her pasta, and you can even see pictures of her in my sister's cookbook, which is called, here's another plug for Mariana, it's called La Bella Molizana, which means the beautiful Molizana, which is like a woman from Molise, from the region that we're from. So she's got a lot of really good recipes in there. And there's a section on my two grandmothers, my dad's mom and Elvira, my mom's mom, who lived with Mariana at the time. So Nana was, oh my God, she was hilarious, all right? I mean, beyond the fact that like she was like the worker of workers, you know? I remember on her 100th birthday, I told this story. Like, there's so many days where I go, I did a lot of work today. I got up, I fed all the animals, I made sure that I cut the grass in the morning, I pruned the trees, I picked this, I went to work, then I go to work and I do construction work during the day, and then I come home, and then I had to fix something that was broken, and then I decided I'm gonna go for my run, and then I'm gonna work out, and then I'm gonna do my paperwork, and then I'm gonna make sure that all the accounts are right, then I'm gonna check on the wine, and then I'm gonna watch TV and go to bed. I'm like, that's my day, right? Well, you think that that's kind of, that's a lot of stuff to do in a day. So my grandmother, this is one story that stands out in my mind, and I can't even say that I can even do this, but so they were out of bread. And now, granted, my parents were very, very poor in Italy. This was right after World War II, and they just, everyone was poor at that time. They didn't have things like salt was so expensive. They had to walk like 7 miles to the town that they could get salt at. My grandmother would do that. I'm like, wow. I'm like, can't you just like hop on a thing and go over there, like hop on a horse? No, horses were expensive. You were rich if you had a horse. You were like semi-rich if you had a donkey. And so, or a cow for that matter, for milk. So, anyway, so she gets up in the morning. They get up very early, right? She doesn't have any bread for the day. What is she gonna do? She's got to make dinner for everyone. They're gonna be hungry after going to work in the fields. And so she's like, okay, so she went out to the field. She picked wheat, okay, like big bushels of wheat. And then she took that wheat down to the grist mill, which was down it's probably maybe 2 miles down from their house. So they went down there. She went down there. She had the flour made. She waited for that to be done. And then she brought that back up to the house. And, she got the yeast out. She let it rise and everything. And then she baked the bread. And then she made the food for their pranzo, which was always in the afternoon, around 1 or 2 o'clock. That would be their afternoon meal. And she did that. And then after that, she cleaned everything up. I think she made I don't know how many loaves of bread she made, but it lasted for a couple weeks. I think that is a tremendous amount of work just to make some bread. I mean, could you imagine just doing that nowadays? Waking up and going, okay, we're out of bread. Go to Safeway and buy a loaf, It's so easy. Or go to the bakery and get a really nice rustic loaf of bread. No, it's not that easy. You have to make do with what you have. So I think that was, very cool. I love my grandmother. I know she was watching over us. Now she was almost 101 when she passed away. She really did it. So that's my grandmother, Elvira. My dad is Donato, and so he was my biggest fan. Whatever work that needed to be done, he was on it. I say, okay, we're gonna do this, and I go, we're gonna make the yard like this. We're gonna make it semi-around, and we're gonna plant the trees here. And then what I want to do is I want to do concrete posts all the way around with balusters. And he's like, okay, well, these balusters, every one of these is solid concrete. This is all solid concrete. So first what we did, there's Tigda, she's saying, see how solid it is? See how solid it is? Don't you feel like you are in Italy though? I mean, come on. Let's just let's just pretend that we're at an Italian garden somewhere. You know, we have all these different things that like encompass like the sounds, the taste, the feeling of being in Italy. And I think that just in general, you know, the Italian cypress trees, the olive trees, the fig trees, the lemon trees, just the architecture that, you know, when we decided to build this place, my dad was like on it. He was, when we bought the property, it was completely, if you come over here, you can even see what the land looked like, because basically we had cattle that were on the property when we bought it. And so you see the beautiful golden hills out there. That's what the property looked like without any of the trees, because it was just kind of just cattle property. And so originally this property was apricot orchards. And so back in the 1800s, they used to ship apricots from Pleasance Valley to all over the United States. So this was like a really big thing. And this was a property that they had that on. And they didn't even water. They just mulched the where the apricot trees were. And there are still some that are remaining all the way up on the I don't think we can see it from here, but there are some apricot trees. Oh yeah. Yeah, they're up behind these big oaks up there. There are like a couple apricot trees that are still up there. And then we also have some Santa Rosa plum trees that are still here on the property. They're just left, you know, they just survived over the years. And from the 1800s now, come on, this is cool stuff. So, all right. So let's get back to the story about that. So there was nothing here, okay? And so we started by first, we had to put in a road. So our neighbors have an excavation company, and they do stuff like that. And so we paid them to do the road. So we put the road in. And then I had to, you know, bring the electrical in. We had a well, so I needed to pump the well. And then I had to put in all the water lines and everything. The infrastructure is like, you'll be surprised at like how much you have to think about that. Like big culverts for drainage, you know, just because when it rains, it pours here. And you know, just to be able to water everything that we have and bring water up to the house and bring electricity in. It was like a big ordeal. But if I knew how much work it was going to be, I may have gone a different route, because the amount of work that we've put into it this is a lot of work. And my dad was up for that. He was like, let's do it. And my mom's like, okay, they're doing their thing, you know? And so she was still finishing up. She was working at this company in Arizona at the time, and she had been there for like over 30 years. And she's like, I'm just gonna retire, and then I'll move to California with, you know, my house, because my dad was going back and forth to be with her. So anyway, so there was nothing. We built the road, we did the infrastructure, and we started building the main winery, which we were gonna build this as a main winery. So let's go up. Should we, I don't know if we should even go inside. I mean, should we see the inside too, or
Yeah, sure.
maybe, yeah. So here we are.
When did you start construction on this place?
Oh, well, we bought the property in 2000, and we did, and we did groundbreaking the week before 9/11. So I'm like, we like, yay, we broke ground and whatever, and then we started, doing the road and everything. And then 9/11 happened. I'm like, is there going to be, what the hell's going to be happening now? We had like no idea. So we were just going with the flow of everything. So it was like, okay. So we broke ground. By the time we got all the permits and the architectural plans for this place, it was 2002 when we started excavation of this winery right now. So we started construction. We finished. So in the process, we realized that, okay, funds are limited. We're going to have to come up with something. So David and I decided that we were going to convert this, which was going to be the winery, into livable space. And I would never have a house this big. It's just gigantic. But as a winery, it really works out well because it's got high ceilings. It's the windows are very small. It's solar bypass so that the sun rises on one side and sets on the other, and it doesn't get too much light on the inside. And also we have a cross breeze. We get the Delta breeze at night. So when we open the windows from one side of the house to the other, the wind just pulls all the heat out. Oh my God, it's so nice. It's my favorite time of day is when it's cool. So welcome to sunny California. So yeah, we built it. We had to convert it into a house. And so now we live here. And then we had to build a separate building to be the winery. And that is on the one side there. And I guess why don't we walk down that way? And then we'll come back here and maybe just go to the pond and stuff, okay? So let's go this way and we'll talk a little bit more. So all these balusters that are right here, my dad poured every single one of them with concrete. We have like 4 forms, and so there's a lot of them here. And I thought, that's a nice little added touch, giving you that feel like you're in some Roman backyard somewhere. I don't know. Definitely fun. As you can tell, let's talk. I'll tell you a little bit about like what we have in the front yard here. So we have Lisbon and Eureka lemons in the front. There's a little apricot tree back over there. Then we have a fig tree over here. And that is the Genovese fig. It's green on the outside and it's like a reddish pink on the inside. And then we have the Fuyu persimmon right next to it. And then this is a Chinese pistache, and those are raywood ashes. And then we have a nashi, which is the Asian pear right over here, because we needed to plant that. David's mom loves those, so, they're very good. Then this is a bay. This is the European bay. So it grows very, very slowly, but it's very fragrant, and it's so good for cooking. This is the one that everyone uses for cooking. That bay there. We have sycamore trees. We have some Moscato vines up here. The rest of them are down in the vineyard. And so the sycamore trees, and then these are the mock orange. And we have, oh my God, the irises, the bearded irises are very cool too. This is a pomegranate. Everybody knows that. Do you know that there are like hundreds of species of pomegranate? I don't know, it's crazy. We even have a prickly pear back over here. Yeah, it's kind of fun. And this is the winery right over here. We call it La Cantinetta. La Cantinetta means the little cantina or winery. So we had to build this, okay, to be able to, because originally when I got the license, okay, first of all, if you're going to start a winery, you should probably contact me, because I'm telling you, there's so many hoops that you need to hop through to be able to do it on the federal level, on the state level, and the local level. So I went to apply for the winery, and what I was going to do was, we're going to be living in there, and then a section of the house I was going to have be the winery, where we did, where we, crush and keep them in the tanks and wash them down and have the barrel room and all that stuff there. Well, they're so nice there. They actually, I do have to admit that working with the federal government on this they were very nice. They asked me a lot of questions, but it was pretty easy once I filled out the application and told them what we were going to do. But they said, I'm sorry, you cannot live in a winery. He goes, because you can't have that be your residence and be there, because if there's ever a problem and we need to seize the property, we can't do that if it's, a residential. So I was like, okay, what do I do? And they go, is there anything else that you can convert? And I thought, oh yeah, where we built the garage. We're gonna go. And so we converted this to the winery, and the still and all that is in there. There's a little tasting bar in there too. So every once in a while we'll have a little tasting. Yeah, so let's walk on down to the, do you feel like you're in Italy? I don't know. I bet you if I was playing some Italian music, you'd feel that way. I wanted to have like I wanted to have cascading roses. I mean, I didn't think they were gonna just be so big. Okay, look at the Black Mission figs. Look at these guys. This one isn't ripe yet, but it's getting close to it. See that? Yeah, I love it. I love it. This one's not right. I've already picked the ones for today.
Oh God, I want to taste one.
Yeah, well, they're all inside. They're so good. They're nice. They're fresh. Don't judge me. I didn't cut the grass here.
Oh my.
Normally this is all nicely cut, because it's kind of like a park feel over here. All right, so we know, okay, so we do grappa. We distill grappa, and that we do that from the wine and the lees from when we make the wine. So when we do that, we distill it we can distill up to about like 85% alcohol. We have, mostly when I'm doing the limoncello and the nocino, I'd use it at about 65%. But when we bottle the grappa to give it that essence of the Sangiovese grapes, that's sold at 45%, which is pretty much like vodka. Yeah. So we grow the lemons here, and we make the limoncello with those lemons, and we also have the walnuts, and this is one of the walnut trees, and as you can see, they're little. No, these are the English walnuts. There's a couple bigger ones that are up on top. There's a lot of walnuts in this tree, but when you do a batch, you need to have quite a few. So you use the green walnuts. The green walnuts get cracked open, and that's what I use when I make the nocino. And the nocino is very dark, because the walnut just is so, it turns completely black, and it's really cool. I really like that for sure.
So the grappa is like an Italian. Explain a little bit about what grappa is.
Grappa is pretty much UDV, if you know the French word for that. It's where it's almost like it's like an Italian brandy. The way it's done is like the wine and the lees are taken, okay, and then that's the thing that's distilled. It's completely clear, okay. Brandy, when they do brandy, they often put it in casks, oak casks, and so that right there is how I do my aged grappa, which is another thing that's really good too. If you like brandy and scotch and you like that kind of oakiness, then you really like the aged grappa. To me, I think it's one of my favorite things to just drink, like just by itself. I don't put it with ice or anything like that. I just put a little bit in a glass and just drink that. And you know what's great about it? Guess what? I never have a hangover, believe it or not. Not that I drink that much, I'm just saying.
So then you use the grappa as a base for your nocino and limoncello.
Right, we do. That's why I said after we distill, I use the 65%, and that's how I make it. Because when it's at that level, it's less flavorful, so it doesn't have the essence of the Sangiovese grape in it. It tends to be more flavorless. As you get higher, like Everclear, which you can get at 90%, is like completely flavorless. Of course, you never want to drink Everclear, straight. I mean, it's just too intense, it burns going down. It's, yeah. So anyway, Lisa does have a story about like grappa and how she felt about it too. Let's go down this way. Let's go down, we'll walk down here by the pond. So we have 5 ponds on the property, and so this is one of them. These are seasonal ponds because they do dry out by the end of the season, and then it rains the next month, and wow, they can be full in a couple months again. But it's always fun. Cattails are pretty. The cattails are so pretty. And then on this side here, come on over. I don't even think I looked at my notes on what I wanted to say. So on this side, we decided, let's put a dock so we can put we can have a little boat over here, because it kind of like, wouldn't that be cute to like put a boat over there and do like a plein air painting of, like someone in a boat and a lady with a parasol. Anyway, so right now we're saying do not walk on that, because this past year the water level got so high and it loosened up some of the posts on it, so I have to rebuild it. I'll get to that soon. All right, and then these are just natural willow trees that just grew when we had the pond. So these, when we moved here, were literally like this big. I mean, they were just like that tall, and they grew from this pond. And the same thing with those over there on that side. Once we excavated some of the dirt on the side there, the wind must have blown the seeds over, and that whole area by the pond there is all new trees. And also the cows the cows would eat them when they were here on the property. So the cows would get their water, but they'd also eat these down. So they never really had a chance to grow. All right, so let's go over here. Oh, a deer. Oh dear. Oh dear. Let's creep over. Let's go see if we can see. Yeah, they're like, hello. Oh, there's a turkey and a deer down there. Do you see it?
Yeah.
Do you get it in the shot? Oh, there she goes. She's going that way. There she goes. Do 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 do. It's a doe. And then the.
Nearby because there's some twins that have been on
Oh
the
my
property.
God, they're so cute. I was in the vineyard. This is the point now where I'm like, living in nature, you know? It's hard to keep the deer out of the vineyard. They do tear off the leaves and eat the grapes and all that. It's like, what are you gonna do? Also, another big eater of the grapes are the turkeys, surprisingly, because what they do is they go in as a flock and they just go deep, 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 and they pull down the grapes and they eat the grapes. It's like, if it's not one thing, it's another that you have to deal with, you know? Okay, so we have the pond here, and then, as you can see, there's like some I don't want to say newly planted, but this is what we call the Orlando Grove, okay? We planted 49 trees over here as a memorial to all of the people that were killed in Florida at the gay bar at the beginning of Pride Month. Back in 2016. Yeah, because it's going to be 4 years this year. So it was like June 12th, 2016, the massacre that happened there. We were so affected by that Pride Month because, you know, living close to San Francisco, you know, we would, David and I go to Pride every year. Except for this year, we're not going because it's been canceled. But, you know, we go to the parade, we go to the dance parties, we go celebrate with friends. You know, there's so many different things. You know, this is a very festive time. We're very proud of the fact that we're gay. I mean, you know, here we are like farmers out in the country, and we're still like, you know, living our lives as, you know, gay men. So, this really affected us so much. We were like, we didn't know what we could do other than just, you know, like, yeah, send them money, but I also wanted to commemorate that in some way. So we just planted all these trees. Of course, these trees were 4 years ago, they were only like that big, and now they're getting bigger and bigger. The surprisingly, the eucalyptus trees grew really big too. We wanted to stick with drought-resistant plants, and so we did that. And then we did a lot of indigenous type things like the deodora cedar. We did the desert willow. We did the Afghan pine. We did the we have valley oak. We have the live oak. We have the California silver maple. We have fantasy maple. We have Chinese pistache. We have some locust trees. There's a few different, and then the red bud. I always like that. That's so cute. And so yeah, we wanted to commemorate that. We really wanted it to like, and they've gotten big, and I can't wait until they're even taller, where they're just like cast shade, so it feels like a really like cool grove. So it'll feel like you're walking under these here. I know they're all gonna grow together, okay? I know that the trees are all gonna grow together and feel like a little mini forest, and we'll have to trim a lot away, but you know what? It's gonna be pretty. I like shade. That's like my thing.
Let's get your Dad's idea to do the overflow ponds on the other side?
They were already there, and so yeah, they were, they were already there. But what we did was we put the culverts so it wouldn't erode the top of where they were going, and we put concrete so that the water would flow over these spots and not erode the dirt as much. So yeah, and they're great. They're really good. We see a lot of wildlife come here because of it. We have the egrets that come in. There's even the blue heron, which is, I don't know if you've ever seen a blue heron before, but they're spectacular. They are probably my height. I mean, they're really big. And, when they stand there, they have very long legs and, a big beak and whatever. And maybe, they're like twice the size of an egret, like you know what egrets are like? A stork. And you know what funny story about that was? So when my niece Daniela was born, it was in 2003. She was born Labor Day, 2003. We were almost done with the house, and it was that fall. And my dad and I were working on just putting the blocks here, so we could pour the concrete, so we could have a walkway around the pond on this side. And I remember that an egret flew straight over us, and I go, oh, there's the stork delivering Daniela. It literally just flew over our head, and I got a call from my mom. She goes, Daniela's born. Are you gonna come to the hospital? We're like, yay, okay, we're all excited. And so we went to the hospital, and it was cool. It was just cool. But it's like sometimes things happen in your life, and you're like, you look back and you go, oh, you have these little memorable things that, like, oh, maybe it was just perchance that flew over at that time, and I would say something like that to my dad. But, it was just like, wow, how the timing of things. So anyway, this tree right here is an Italian stone pine. So back in, when we had completed the house, we had a book group here. And so our friend Melody, in I think it was 2007, gave us one of those little mini Christmas trees that you get at Christmas time, and she brought it over with like whatever. She always would bring by fruit and everything, so she's so sweet. And so this is one of those little tiny Italian stone pines, and that's how big it is. So the Italian stone pine is very popular in Italy and very popular in Lucca, where Pinocchio was born, coming from this kind of a pine tree. So you'll see these are gigantic in Italy, and they just cut off the branches on the side, so that's why they look so high, and then the umbrella on the top. It's the Italian stone pine. So pretty. So pretty. I love trees. I am a tree fanatic, okay? I think we've planted over 500 trees on the property. Just the trees. I'm not talking about like oleander bushes or, California bottle brush or any of the other stuff that we have here. So that's the old well right there. We got one of the wells. See, here, let's look. Because, people like to know these things. It's like a rubble well wall. And then back in the back is the actual working stuff in a well.
Not like the cartoons.
It's not it's not like someone's like in there getting a bucket out and rolling it down and pulling it up. And the cats love to follow us around. Kitties. And as you can see on the drive coming in, we have a line of mulberry trees there. Yeah.
Why'd you plant mulberry trees?
I think because of the leafy green part of it, and you can trim them back and then they grow. They really bush out. So I really wanted to have like a shaded entrance from the road. I don't even.
Like a
It seems like I
foyer
think. Yeah, there you go.
or a womb.
It's coming through a tunnel or a womb. Yeah. A lot of Moscato. We have a lot of Moscato over here. This is the only Okay, kitties. Hey,
Why is he doing that?
because they're
Cats
mean.
are fun.
Cats are fun.
Chubbs, come here, Chubbs. Little
Come on,
cat.
kitties.
Kitty, 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 kitty. Jeez. We just got interrupted by the cats.
Jeez, they're so rude, man. They're so rude. So this is where we have some of the Moscato. This area here is I'm tearing out these grapes here because we're going to be planting, and I've said this for over a year now. We still haven't, purchased them, but we're going to put drought-resistant rootstock there so that we water for like the first year or two. And then that's it. Then we don't have to worry about watering because there's so much water that goes. Okay. Anyway, they didn't care. They're like, we're just going to be mean to each other. Yeah, we planted a lot of olive trees, some more figs, Italian cypress. If you look up the hill there, there's like an S road that goes up there. And I planted Italian cypress trees all the way up there to the top. And a funny story about that was, I was working a job in, I don't even know where it was. It was either Napa or Vallejo. And I was there for like, I don't know, I was there for like a couple months. Not that I was living there, I was just going back and forth. And so I had mentioned to my dad, I said, I want a road, cut and put all the way, so I could go up to the top, because that's where we originally wanted to build the house, the Borgata itself. And so I was, as you can see, this is exactly what my dad, I'm sure, would be so happy to be here right now, because the figs are ready, the apricots are ready, the plums are ready, the loquats are ready. And so as you can see that there's, on the apricots and the plums, they're ripe. He'd be very happy about that. And the lemons for the limoncello. But so I told my dad, I said, I want to build a road to go all the way up to the top. And he's like, okay. So I was working and I came home one day and, I saw the tractor was over here. And so like I wasn't even paying attention. And then the next day I came home and then the tractor was like over there. And I was like, I didn't know what was happening. And then like the weekend came around and I saw my dad in the morning and he goes, yeah, I'm going to finish it off. And I go, what? And he goes, the road up to the top. He cut the road all the way up to the top so you can drive vehicles all the way up there. I was like, oh my God, of course it needs to be paved now, but that's why we call that Via Donato. Via Donato. Yeah, I planted 13 Italian cypress trees up there because this is what I originally wanted to do, and I'm probably still going to do it. Is to put a little tiny chapel up at the top of the hill over there to just commemorate the amount of work that farmers put into their lives to be able to just, it's a completely spiritual journey. Like, you have got to put things away to be able to like focus on something like this, because farmers today, and this is why we started the PVAA, an association of farmers that are coming together as a collective to support other farmers, because farming, small farms are dying off and these big huge farms are taking over because they're the only ones who can afford it. You know, it's a tremendous amount of work. And to commemorate the peasants, the farmers from Italy, the farmers in Poland, the farmers in South America, the farmers in Mexico, Canada, Europe, everywhere around the world. You know, that's why I wanted to do something like that. And so I wanted to put a little chapel up there so that people can go all the way up and each one of those, not that I'm like, I was raised Catholic, okay, and we did the Stations of the Cross. And there's the whole like thing that, you know, you do every station. There's 13 stations until Jesus is crucified and, you know, put on the cross. But I think the biggest thing about that is the spiritual side of it. It's like taking time out and reflecting on our lives. Like each step that, so you walk up, you go to the first station, and what is that about? How is that like affecting me in my life? What's going on in my life that like this represents? Or how can I get through this? Or is someone in my life going through that? And so, because there's so many challenges being out here, I mean, shit, there's a freaking fire happening, you know? And there's like, and then there's like, there's so many restrictions to be able to like do things on your own property. You know, like just for like, if you want to open up a fruit stand, you got to get a permit. Are you going to have a building? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? Like the county needs to get involved in that. Like there's, you know, like there's wind that happens here, okay? The wind can cause fires. The wind knocks trees down. Sometimes we have like flooding. There's so many things that you have to pay for in general, you know, like you have to have your insurance and all that. And so there's a lot of like things that farmers do that most people don't even know, you know? I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into these things. So when you go to the farmer's market and you go, that's expensive. Well, no shit. I mean, if you want organic strawberries, if you want organic cherries, you want organic apricots, peaches, anything like that, and you're getting it from a small farm, they have to price that at that amount. And you know what? It's really worth it, because, you know, you're helping that family and whatever they're doing in their life. So that's why we started PVAA. Yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to just continue doing what we need to do to promote the farmers in our area. And hopefully it'll catch on, you know? So, yeah, so that's that. So I'm going to build a chapel up there. People will be able to go up and just, you know, meditate on each station. We don't need to call it a station. It can be like a Buddhist walk. It could be anything you want it to be, but I wanted it to be more of a spiritual journey up the hill. Because, you know, think about it. That's what our life is like. We're always on an uphill battle. Okay, so now let's go on over to the vineyard. So guess what? We're back with the goats. Yeah, that's right. So these are our little 5 goats here. We used to have a larger herd, but you know, over time, as they get older, they die, and that's another thing. When you live on a farm, you don't know how difficult it is sometimes, because when things are born and and they're beautiful and whatever, you also have to think about the dying part of it and like what goes in. This is very, very sad. you know, when they die. Because not only did I raise them since they were little, but I also have to have buried some of them. And this is Prima. They all have Italian names, of course, right? So this is Prima, and the big one here is Benedetto. He's a weathered male. And then the white one is Bianca. Oh, surprise. And then the little one that she's horning right now is Carina. And then the one that's over there is Carina's daughter. How could you tell that was her daughter? Is Chiara. Yeah, so they're all in here. We're moving them down to this part of the pasture, which is, you know, still has a lot of leafy green stuff somewhere in there. So they're enjoying that. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Looky here. Looky here. I got some eggs. So these are the teal ones are the Americana chicken. That one that's like striped with the brown, and the little one here is the little white leghorn, and then of course the other ones are from the other chickens, and they're getting so big because these were small last week. Now they're getting bigger, and they get huge. They're gonna get bigger and bigger. So yeah. So guess what? You have a frittata for dinner. A frittata. Frittata. Okay, let's go to the vineyard. Well, hi. Welcome to the vineyard. It's not Martha's vineyard, though. It's Gerry's vineyard and David's and everybody else that helps in the vineyard. We're just going to call it everybody's vineyard. So these are the Sangiovese grapes. As you can tell, we don't spray Roundup, okay? We just don't do that, you know? Also, there's a lot of dry farming. We try and do as much dry farming as we can. So these are our Sangiovese grapes. This is our biggest seller at the winery and at the deli. So as you can tell, as I told you, we do a lot of dry farming here. I do not use Roundup, hence the weeds that are growing up in between here. And this year, normally, it's fairly manicured. I weed eat in between all the things, but guess what? I was busy this year doing something else. So, so this is, and they're all, you know, Lisa has helped, and she has come by, and she's like cleaned up the sides of the vines and made sure that they're up into the wires so that the grapes can hang down and get some sun. We don't want them to get too much sun because it does get hot here, but we do want to be able to thin out the grapes because we don't want to have, you know, small shot berries on little vines. So, you know, we want it to be a little bit more select. So here's that. Let me tell you, we have 4 wines. We have a Chardonnay, we have a Sangiovese, we have a red wine blend, which is a blend of Cabernet and Cabernet Sauvignon and the Sangiovese and Syrah. And then we have a rosé of Sangiovese. We call it a rugged rosé. It's a little bit darker in color. So we have those. We're going to release a Merlot this year. We're getting ready to change our vintage for the Chardonnay, which we're probably going to be farming out because it's just too hot here in Vacaville to be able to do the harvest is too early, and the grapes don't get as sweet. So that's why we're going to farm those out. So after, just as you know, when we make the grappa, and the limoncello and the nocino. Those are the other 3 things that we do. And we're going to have an aged grappa, and I have another botanical thing that I'm going to be releasing. It's approved by the feds. It's its own type of liqueur. So it's a very exciting thing. We're going to be releasing that. It's very unique in its nature because it has like 17 different ingredients in it. So you'll really, I hope that you like that too. The deli, we have our wine night, and we do that at the beginning of the month. It used to be on Friday nights, but we switched it to Saturday. And Mariana does a fixed price, menu, and everyone comes in with COVID. Everything's spaced out, so you have to have reservations. But after that, it's going to probably be, you can come in and do walk-ins too. So you can get the wines there, and we pour all of the wines there. The limoncello and the nocino and the grappa are only available here at the winery or on our website at laborgatawinery.com. Did you get that? I'll say it again, laborgatawinery.com. And we hope that, like this year, I'm really pushing to get all of the stuff available to you. There's some things that we need to update. There's so many things that I just need to finish up. And so that's why this year is going to be a big push, because it's 2020. Could it throw any more curveballs at you? I don't know. But, we're doing what we can. Also, I want to thank you guys for being here for this virtual farm days. It's okay. First of all, farm days is not an easy undertaking. We get the farmers together, we open up the farms, we have to put signs up. There's a lot of marketing that's involved in it. Thank you to the other places around that have helped us promote something like this. And because we want to make it, it's not like getting a wine tasting in Napa, or you're going to go to Apple Hill and just do all apples. Pleasance Valley is very mixed. So we have Morning Sun Herb Farm, we have the Soul Food Farm, we have the Joyful Ranch, which is so cool. We have, is it Menagerie Hill? And then we have, we have another vineyard. We have Girl on the Hill, Lavender and Vineyard up there. We have a Sky Ranch. There's so many different types of farms. Even Bee Love. I mean, God, they have just such a nice setup over there. There's so many different things here in this valley, and it's so unique, and it's true California. The first time that I ever came to California, I was just a teenager. I was only 16, and I'm oh my God, it's so cool. The trees, the winding road up here with all the oaks, and it's just breathtaking. So thank you so much for being part of the virtual. But we also want you to come out next year when we are open for farm days and be here on our farms and meet us, and maybe take something home from our places. So we appreciate it. But guess what we're going to do now? We're going to switch over, and we're going to see the process of what we have to do to make limoncello. So let's head on over.